Okay, we're back on track here. Hi, Chris, how are you? All right, this is a meeting of the Waterways Committee on April the 8th. If we could just start quickly with the attendance. Go ahead, we'll start with, I guess senior would be TJ.
I'm here.
All right, and then we move to Dana. Dana, are you here? She was just here. She probably got bumped like I did. I know she'll be back. We have Andrea.
Here.
Okay, and we have Eli. Okay,
Here.
Kevin's here, Steve Mello's here, and we'll give Andrea a chance to get back on.
Just so everyone's aware, I called DCTV and they straightened it out, but they didn't show anybody else in the meeting. I got the message that there was already a meeting in progress, so
Yeah, same here.
Me too.
able to reset and fix the
I
glitch.
got the same message too.
The only one who managed to get on was Dana. She was solo when I finally got on. All right, well, I'm sure she'll be jumping on momentarily. Chris, if we could just give her a couple of minutes, and then we'll start with you on the agenda, please. Welcome to our meeting, by the way. I appreciate you coming here and giving us your time.
No problem at all.
Okay.
So do you want me to sit tight and wait for her, or do you want to
let's give her another minute. She was at the meeting earlier, and I was just on here with her a few moments ago, so she's
Sure,
probably just trying to get back with us.
No problem.
Chris, were you able to submit the MVP grant?
Yes, it was submitted. So
Excellent. Congratulations.
What is the MVP grant? Make me smart like you.
it is the Municipal Vulnerability Program. We've been fortunate enough to get the grant the last couple years. We worked with the team here to get an application for Smith Neck Road.
Okay.
The idea to get that up to full design, so that in another phase we can permit the project and get it out. But DPW's been looking at it for a while, and happy we were able to get an application together.
Okay. All right. I guess
submitted a comment letter from the Padenham Harbor Plan Implementation Committee, which isn't defunct, but we haven't been meeting. And one possibility was moving that group into a subcommittee of waterways, and we haven't addressed that at any level yet.
Hey, just before that, I just the DCTV put a message in the chat. It just says, please call and message anyone to sign back in again.
Okay.
I just sent one to Roger, Ace, and Dana.
Good.
Yeah, Roger disappeared. Yeah, and Dana. That's the group I was in earlier, and then
That was the no group.
Oh well, maybe we're going to run past 1:15 here. Let's see, we got 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, well, we have a quorum here. Yeah, for some reason, the way I always enter the meeting, I just went to Zoom login, entered the meeting code, and then Dana told me just to click on the link that Steve had provided in the agenda. That brought me here and lost her.
No, I clicked the link and didn't get anywhere. I was in that other meeting in progress. And then I logged out of it and logged in manually, and that worked.
Okay. I did just the opposite. I logged
Too funny. Too funny.
Oh, God.
It probably had something to do with timing, because just for the record, I was also in the meeting in progress, logged out, went back to the agenda, used the link, and got in. So there must have been some technical fix.
There was a reset by DCTV just before we went live.
Yeah, so now we have a full recording of our technical prowess.
think we all know whose mercy we're at when it comes to Zoom and a lot of programs.
Mhm. Yes,
No response from either Dana or Roger.
Huh.
And Andy's not available. Am I missing
Right.
anyone else?
Yeah.
I think that's
They giving
everybody.
you curtains at town hall, Chris?
That could be taken too many different ways, Kevin.
They were actually a gift here. We had the curtains, but the hangers, they're about $2 hooks. Because
I'm getting a phone call now from Roger Race.
I was gonna say we had some blinding light here.
Roger, how are you?
Well, it's much nicer than shades.
Yeah, they're a little more
Yeah.
durable too.
Okay, I know, I finally did get back on. Go to the email that Steve sent with the agenda on it and click on the link. I clicked on the longer link of the two. Try either one of those links. Yeah.
Hi, Dana.
Oh,
Okay,
we
I'm
got
back.
Dana back, so maybe you could call.
Tell him, is this, it's
Right,
on
now
the,
everybody's, Dana, what could I tell Roger to do now? I
Tell
got
him-
on the phone.
don't go to the agenda, but go to the meeting posting email. That's what I did.
Okay, go to
Get back in.
the meeting posted email that Steve had sent where it says meeting posted, yeah. And click on one of those, click on that link where it says meeting posted.
Chris, are we taking you away from your lunch hour?
No, I timed my day. I'm here.
Good,
No
It's
good.
a couple at DCTV, I think.
Can you give us any baby updates? Or is that inappropriate?
baby updates.
Baby update?
He is. I had to think about that. I go small updates. Yeah, he's just turned 5 months, and
Oh.
he is learning how to roll, and he is trying but failing to crawl, and yeah, very cute.
And he
Yeah.
recognizes you when you walk in the room?
Yes.
That's the best.
Yeah.
Okay, welcome, Roger.
Yeah, back again.
Okay.
I don't know what happened.
We'll put Roger in attendance and Dana now, so we're good to go. Chris, you're first on the agenda with updates of grants and you have the floor.
Fantastic. Well, thank you guys for having me here today, giving an update on a couple of our grants, applications, grant projects we have ongoing. The 3 big ones. First, we have Dice Landing, 2 funding sources. We have our SEC funds, and we have the local matching CPA funds. So at this point, we've been consistently drawing down the funds as the project is underway. As of now, we have just under $100,000 left of SEC funds to draw down. Once we fully draw down the SEC funds, we will look to our local match for the remainder of the project. So, my understanding from just looking at the most recent project update is they're very close to punch list, and happy to see that project finally getting done. So, once we have concluded drawing down the funds from SEC, we will begin the process of doing the closeout paperwork. I do know that there has been discussions about the ribbon cutting, and definitely as those plans get finalized, I will relay that over to them because I'm sure they will want to have a representative there for the project in its conclusion. So that's the first item. The other 2 projects, one is the Roger Street boat ramp. So back in the middle of last year into the fall, I worked with our town departments on a scope of work. As part of that, we sent information off to Steve, Conservation, our DPW, to pull all of the existing plans at the boat ramp, as well as additional documentation at the time on its deficiencies. And we sent off that proposed scope of work to a consultant engineer. Now, we also have SEC funds for that project. However, based on the current grant expiration date, it wouldn't give our consultant as much time as they'd like to be able to go through the full design and permitting. We have been in discussion with SEC, and they are open to extending that out so that we can keep that project going. So I understand that there's some question on the feasibility of the boat ramp there long term, and that is something that we've talked about with consultant engineers. And when they start going out there exploring, we'll be able to know definitively what it would take to put a ramp there, and again, whether or not it's feasible. But I think having this be an exploratory activity in that first phase of site review by the consultant will help us determine next steps. So that is moving. Once we do have that amended agreement from SEC, we will move ahead with signing the consultant agreement. The last piece is we have the SEC funding for the Dice Landing in Aponegazit Park Master Plan. That project has been slightly delayed for a couple reasons. One is we did have some staffing transitions in our planning department this past fall. As Andrea alluded to, I also had some personal leave that kept me out of the office for later in the calendar year. So again, we have been in touch with SEC on this. Again, we're looking to extend that project. We did have this past fall a draft outline for what that project would look like, but we're going to plan to refine that a little bit more so that we can get consultant proposals. So that project, we have hope to have underway later in the spring with the idea that Waterways, the Parks and Rec Board, and our other stakeholder committees will have a part to play in that. So those are my updates on that front.
Anybody have any questions or comments? Andrea?
I have a question, Chris, on, I haven't seen the scope for the Aponegazit Master Plan. So I'm not exactly sure what it's about, but I do understand that there's another grant, Coastal Zone Management had prepared a potential concept for addressing some issues over at the Aponegazit, I'll call it the peninsula, meaning both properties. And
Okay.
It wasn't well received. And so they shelved it. And so I wondered if that whether or not that proposed plan might have some opportunity to be discussed and perhaps modified through the master planning process.
Yes. So to that note, there's been a couple of efforts over there. So one is the CZM designs that were done that you noted. The other one was recently some work that was done by CEI as part of the Municipal Vulnerability Program from this past grant year. And they also took another look at that site. Now, CEI did some work to incorporate the issues, the challenges with that CZM design and the dunes. And it is our expectation that the efforts from that CZM design, the CEI design, and will both be incorporated into the master plan. So our hope is ultimately that through these various studies that have been done, they look at the designs and determine what out of those designs is or is not feasible, so that going forward, we know as part of future phases of MVP, for example, what we should be putting in for and what's realistic to get accomplished over at the site. But I think just in my conversations, even this past year as it related to MVP and the proposed recommendations, those were sent over to the Parks and Rec Board. Some of them were received well, some there were follow-up questions, but I think that this master plan process should incorporate everyone's concerns. So short answer is yes.
No, that's important. That's important because it's, I mean, we don't want, those proposals cost somebody some money. So I'd like to pull up, maintain what's best from both of them to actually move forward on a improvement out on that peninsula.
Agreed. And that last piece too is I know that we did move through this MVP project. It wasn't to full design with the idea that we would be having these discussions, and there was some room to make amendments there. So looking forward to that.
Anybody else have any questions or comments for Chris regarding the grants? I have a couple of everybody. TJ, I can't see you, so, and Eli, you'll just have to speak up if that's the case.
You're muted.
I'm all set. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I'm okay for the time being. Thank you.
Chris, I got just a couple of questions.
Sure.
The deadline for SEC money is June the 30th, as I understand it. Does the town contribution have to be spent by that time? Because apparently there's a little bit of a timing delay with some of the additional work we'd like to do over there because of the restrictions put on pile driving. So is it possible that the town portion or part of that can be delayed to September?
Yeah, so what we would likely do is we would close out the grant, and considering we'd have the ribbon cutting, for all intents and purposes be open for the season. If there's some additional work that we want to have done, we would likely need a extension through CPC. And make that explanation. So I think having kind of a detail what that would look like, and ensuring that as it relates to the funding itself, that it still keeps with the spirit of what was approved and we have a contract for. So that element of it, I think just as we refine that plan, just send it to me and then I can put a package together to send over to CPC.
Okay. Steve, you might want to comment. I think that we've talked briefly about this, that potentially to add some floats over there with the additional money, and the floats could probably be built and delivered before the June 30th deadline so that we could draw down as much SEC money as possible, and that the additional work that would be required to install some or all of those would have to be deferred till September. And we'd have to work out what the numbers were, but at least we could probably draw down the SEC money. And I think we could accomplish that by June 30th. We have a meeting with Patrick at Forth coming up. We'll be more forthcoming with the information and the timing, but that's kind of what we look at now. And Steve, if you have anything to add to that.
We have an immediate need for 2 floats to replace the only 2 floats that are remaining from the old town pier. They don't match in height, the new arrangement, and they don't connect to the new floats. They leave a gap that will entice people to make a jump, which could be hazardous, therefore an attractive nuisance. And if we could get 2 new floats to replace them well under the amount remaining, I think it'll have a complete nature to the project, safety-wise, aesthetic-wise, and utility-wise. So, yeah, I don't know what the next step is other than telling Patrick to order them. I don't know if we need to get authorization as a change work order.
Yeah. So what I'd recommend is work with them to define what that change order would look like. Send it over to us. We will in turn send over that information to CPC and get confirmation. And also, if we're thinking that that'll extend to next fiscal year, we would just, again, need their sign off on both pieces of that. So once we get confirmation of that, then we can sign the change order, then they can go and put in the order for the parts.
Chris, do you see a problem that if we authorize the building of some more floats that cannot be installed till September, at least if they're delivered to the site and they've been physically built, that we could draw down SEC money, even though they haven't been installed?
Yeah, so my recommendation would be I wouldn't place any order or agree to any additional scope until the change order has been signed off on.
Yes, the change order, understood, yeah.
Yep. And then my recommendation would be, as we're invoiced, I don't know how much is left for punch list activities, and that may be a follow-up conversation after this, but
Mhm.
I would not like to have any money left to draw from SEC,
Right,
after 6:30. I don't want to leave any money on the table. If it's there, it's awarded. So hopefully this additional scope will not have to tap into those SEC funds, and maybe that can just solely be the local match piece that would pay for that component of it. But
okay,
I'll wait to see kind of what the package is from FOF when it
from
comes in.
Patrick,
So-
yes.
Just for clarification, if the two new floats that we desire can be paid out of remaining SEC funds and ordered prior to 6/30/25, would that be the preferred way to go so that we utilize all the SEC funds available?
Do you know how much for the current scope is left to draw down for punch list activities and just the remaining build out over there?
I don't believe there's very much. So let's say for round numbers, there's 100,000 left. I think the groundwork may be 20, and that leaves 80 for two floats, which should cost substantially less than that. But I would get a clearer picture from Patrick. He's got
Yeah,
a better handle on it.
Yeah,
We-
I mean, one way or another, we will make sure that we're drawing down SEC funds to the best of our ability. And if it's something where we lean on this, the local funds, then that's what we'll do. But we can talk offline about that.
Okay.
Sure.
Anybody, Andrea, are you gonna say something?
Steve, we also have been talking, and we'll bring up in the Warren Marina update, we're talking about creating a sign, a name sign for the marina. And we found out that FOF didn't have that in the project already. So we're going to be going for quotes on that. Is that a change order?
So I can look back through the documentation. I believe CPC does require signage
Yes.
as part of a condition of their approval. So this may be something that we could accomplish with the CPC funds. But I guess ordering the sign, if that's not something that we had set out to do, then I think that would also require a change order if we're going through them. Or if we're ordering it separately, maybe we just do it on our own. But I also don't
Use
know
up the
where you're gonna
money.
put the sign or any details. So
Chris, I have another question for you, Chris.
Okay, thanks, Cap.
Should we make a sign similar to the Maritime Center that indicates of SEC funding and CPC money and that type of stuff? If you look over at the Maritime Center, that there has a sign that's been posted and still remains there. So should we include that in our signage for this project?
yes.
Okay, so Andrea, as part of the go ahead with the dedication sign, you might want to take a picture or take a look at the Maritime Center sign. That would be a good indication, possibly change of names and whatnot, but what we ought to include another sign being posted somewhere to that effect so that we're within the guidelines of the SEC requirements.
Okay, Steve, I believe we asked that question of FOF, and they said it wasn't, they didn't have the funding sign in their specifications either.
There was, according to Patrick, there was no requirement for a project sign.
Okay,
That was Patrick said that. I don't know if it's in the CPC contract or if it doesn't exist at all, but I don't know.
Chris, do you
Well-
have any indication whether such a sign is required from SEC?
Or
Um,
CPC.
Yeah, give me 1 second. If you want to, let me give.
It's
quick
something we
second
can
look at the
research
file here.
separately.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't have to be part of the meeting, but
Right, okay,
Yeah, I'll look it up and I can follow up.
okay, that'd be
And just
great.
give Steve the details so he can relay that over to Foth.
Okay. All right, if there's no other grant questions, we can relieve Chris. Thank you for coming, or feel free to stay on for the meeting, whatever your preference is, but we do appreciate your time and your input.
No problem at all. If there's any other questions that come out of today's meeting, feel free to reach out, and thank you guys so much.
Okay,
Thanks, Chris,
thank
for your
you.
hard work.
Thank you. All right. Next on the agenda, we have prior meeting minutes with the roll call vote for approval. So we have the minutes dated 3/11. Any comments, questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
I move that we accept the minutes as written.
Second,
Motion has been made and seconded. All those, any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Kevin, I think you need to do his roll
Roll
call.
call, yeah.
Oh, okay. Roll call.
Sorry.
We'll start with our most senior member, Roger Race,
Aye.
and we'll go to our next senior member, TJ Salvidio.
Approve.
Moving to Donna Dornbush,
Aye.
Andrea Langhauser,
Approve.
Eli Powell,
Aye.
and Kevin votes aye. Okay. Next on the agenda, number 4 is the Warren Hathaway Marina project update. The completion of punch list, funds available, and priority. Steve, you want to comment on the first portion of that?
the groundwork, which is what's called the asphalt concrete, basically putting it all back together and connecting the parking lot to the dock, was supposed to be done this week. The weather has not been cooperating. I don't know if it ever will, but that's the major work left to be done. There are some signs that are on the contractor to supply or replace, and those are regulatory signs, I believe. There are signs that we're going to need to purchase for no fishing and 20-minute tie-up or something along those lines. And I need to get a clearer picture from Patrick on what that leaves for money. And I think our priority list includes the 2 floats on the south side and anything else that we can add to enhance the usability of the facility. We are already beyond capacity, so there's no question that we will fill whatever we can construct. The question is how much money remains to allow us to construct more accommodation. And I know the piles can't be driven now, but there would be other options to moor them or to keep them and drive the piles in the fall. That's about it, I think.
Okay, I think that the plan overall is to draw down as much money as possible. The ARPA funds that would transfer to this project, Chris did not mention, but it seems that we have substantial funds to make several more floats that are within the already permitted process to get that to spend down all of that money. So we should.
Those ARPA funds may not be relied upon at this point. I'm not sure. There's been some
Yep.
noise about recapturing, clawing back unused ARPA funds, and I don't know the full picture of that, but it needs to be looked at.
Presumably, from what I understand, we'll have to get a firmer clarification, obviously. But if there was a contract in place before December of last year, then ARPA funds may be used. The contract for the marina was signed back in May of 2023. So should that requirement be fulfilled, indications are we can use ARPA money. But Steve raised a good point before we have any change orders signed that we'll have to verify if those ARPA funds actually can be used. So, but the 2 floats that he's talking about are well within the budget that's remaining for sure. And if anybody else has any ideas that they'd like to add to enhance what we have over there, feel free to come forward and make
The only,
it,
the only other thing I want to add, because it's part of the marina, is that we received a donation from the New Bedford Yacht Club of one dinghy rack that they had in use last year, but we're not going to be using it going forward. So I paid Pioneer to pick up that dinghy rack and replace one of our original wooden racks, and basically pulled one out and put this one in its place, so that we're making progress one rack at a time, but it was much better than what we had. So
all right, the next section is the dedication ceremony. There are 2 points of view here that we'd like to run by the whole commission. Who shares what view I think will remain out of view for the board right now. So the 2 proposals have been a ceremony that would be set forward, just kind of a low-key ribbon cutting and a few speeches made. Another proposal which would be put forward is to kind of make it a little bit of a festival atmosphere where we could possibly bring in a food truck and have some music and make it a little bit more of an event. That would need cooperation with Parks and Recs, but just like to throw it out to the group, non-members of the subcommittee at this time, and see where we stand. So,
Yeah,
Roger?
just to give everybody a feel for it, we're talking about June 6th.
Yep.
Like in the late after, which is a Friday, late afternoon, like in the 4 to 6 time frame. So, depending on it, we'll finalize the time depending on exactly what the event is. And we're looking at, opening it up to everybody, putting a notice in the Harbor Master website and Dartmouth Weekly and the Town Electric Board, but then specifically inviting SEC reps, town reps like the Select Board and the Town Administrator and Parks and Rec and CPC, Waterways, Dartmouth High School sailing team and coaches, representatives from state government, Harbor Master, and then specific guests that the Hathaway family would request, and then having a couple of speeches and seeing if someone from CPC or SEC wants to address the group and cutting a ribbon.
Okay, I have a question.
Go ahead.
Have you asked the yacht club if you could host a party over there? Because Warren was so connected to the New Bedford Yacht Club, that might be a very appropriate space and place for a celebration of his tenure in our town.
That has been discussed, and that portion of it would kind of be a private event that would be by invitation only from Marcia to the yacht club.
But Marcia knows everybody.
Well, that's true. In discussion with Marcia, the yacht club has been asked to possibly provide some accommodation for 35 to 50 people. So this would not be an open invitation to the public. So what's done over at the landing would be a separate event that may or may not occur at the yacht club. So that decision would be between Marcia and the yacht club and who she wants to invite.
And that was based on feedback from, well, a lot of things, but partially feedback from the town of that this event that we have needs to be open to everybody.
Well, absolutely.
Yeah.
If I can weigh in, I think we need to have a I don't want to call it scaled down, but I think we need to have the ribbon cutting separate from other things that go on. Number one, I agree that it has to be everybody or no one, meaning you have to invite everybody or no one. If people want to do a private thing after for the Hathaway family, then I think that's a discussion that's outside of the purview of Waterways. I think that it becomes a funding issue also. I mean, we would wind up having, if you're going to do something beyond just a ribbon cutting ceremony that requires capital, we got to figure out where we're going to get the capital from.
Yeah. Who's going to pay for this?
Exactly. Oh, right. In the vernacular, who's going to pay for it?
Who's gonna pay?
The
So
town, go ahead, Roger. I'm sorry.
I think you should invite everyone because Warren was that guy. He wanted everyone to be better on the water. A parking lot in June 6th in the afternoon, I don't know. It could be fine. And then again, it might be raining like now.
Well, I guess if I may just expand on my thought, I think we need to have it that is the purpose of the event for the opening of the marina project. How else Warren gets celebrated amongst the folks, I think is a different conversation. I don't know that you can mix the two of them. I don't think you can have a private event somewhere else that is tied to this. That doesn't mean a group of people can't get together and have something for them, or the family.
Yeah, so I think what we have talked about kind of is there will be some sort of a ribbon cutting with speeches and a wider guest list and a townwide invitation at the landing and at the new marina. Also, we believe Marcia will have something where she invites people back to the yacht club. But I think kind of I think we're all in agreement that we want to proceed that way. But then do we want to make the event that's at the marina a larger event, look for a food truck, look for, more of a party atmosphere there, or we want to keep it simple, focus on, on the, just the ribbon cutting and the speeches.
The other thing that's in response to who would pay for it, there does seem to be an indication from the town that there would be some funds available, provided all townwide was invited. So there could be a discussion about how it would be funded should the celebration be expanded.
Well, it's sort of, Kevin, then we should find out how much the town is willing to pay. If they're going to give you $1,000, that's great. So you could have a party for $1,000. I'd very much like to understand who's going to pick up the tab. That's all.
Yeah, the number of $4,000 to $5,000 was thrown at the town and not official, but they didn't seem to balk at that.
Yeah, I'd like to see that in writing.
That's fine. Yeah, I agree. We're in the preliminary stages here.
I'm not a lawyer, but I've learned a lot from TJ.
We have to decide if that's the route we want to go to ask, or are we not going to go that route and don't ask? So both options have to have certain requirements to be figured out for sure. So
Seems like we could probably do it in a way that doesn't necessarily have to draw funds from anywhere. Like that money could probably be spent better in other places if we could get some members of the Dartmouth High band to play or something like that.
Sweet.
There you go.
And then just, it doesn't have to be a huge event. And I'm not sure Warren, Warren liked large events, but not necessarily focused on him. I think he just liked people to celebrate being on the water. And so, incorporating something from the band and, maybe keeping it at that might be enough.
I think that does bring us back to doing it at the landing, and whatever we decide to do, town sponsored or Waterways sponsored, quote unquote, should be probably at the landing. And then if the Hathaway family wants to do something else, then they're free to do that in any way, shape, or form. But I don't think you can mix the two of them. I'm going to be honest with you. And sometimes being a lawyer, you're the skunk at the party. It just is what it is.
Yeah, no, that sounds like a logical plan, and just keep it relatively simple at the landing, ribbon cutting, and maybe very simple, cost-effective celebration with, as you say, local talent. There you go.
Okay, that seems to be the trend. So do we have a motion?
I just want to add, if I can,
Yes.
we to Roger's point at the last meeting, we did look into the Marina Maritime Center, as a kind of an add-on. And they ran into complications with getting people over there, whether or not, gather a lunch service and we also ran into complications with it being a smaller size area but a public spot. So we couldn't do invitation only in a public building. So that doesn't work for, that doesn't, that's why keeping it at the landing really makes the most sense as opposed to the arena.
The biggest, right, the hardest element of the landing is going to be weather. That's going to be our biggest, that'll be our biggest issue, because there's plenty of parking there and stuff like that. There's plenty of ability to, and whoever wants to come see it will certainly have the room over there. But if we do have inclement weather, I mean, it might cut down on the crowd, or it might, it might rain a bit on our parade. But I guess that's the peril of outdoors.
Yeah.
Seems all the more reason to keep it relatively simple if we're somewhat weather dependent.
Agreed.
With that.
Okay, do I have a motion, please?
So I will make a motion that it's a simple ceremony without food. I think that's what I'm hearing. Simple ceremony without food, with some speeches and a ribbon cutting.
And the music provided by local talent.
And music whatever we can find. Right. I mean, ideally with local music.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that one.
Okay. Any further discussion?
I think it'll be great. And just what Warren would like.
Okay.
Let's have a roll call vote. TJ?
Yes.
Roger, sorry I stepped you on.
No. That. Yes, I am in favor of that.
Okay, Dana?
Yes.
Andrea?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. Eli?
Yeah.
Eli.
Yep.
And Eli, I guess we could make you in charge of getting the band over there. So
Happy to do that.
all right,
Cool.
sounds like a plan.
Cool.
Moving on to the next item on the agenda. Yes.
Should we talk about the sign, or do we not have to go into that level of detail?
Well, I'm a little bit of time of the essence if you wish to at this time, but
Really quickly.
it is something we have to get done. Yes, go ahead, Andrea, please.
Just a very quickly, the name, a sign that illuminates the name will just say Warren Warren G.
Yes.
Hathaway Marina, and a logo on either side of the naming, which would be the town logo on one side and a nautical logo on the other side. We're inclined to go with his boat was a 22 Etzel, and there's a symbol for that, and his boat name I don't recall. We might
Grand
put
Piano.
Baby
Sorry?
Grand.
Baby Grant.
Baby Grand, right.
Everybody knows it.
Yeah.
And
Baby Grand
Etchells,
at 22 feet. I love it.
Etchells is the E symbol with like a sail in front of it. I can send you that if you haven't seen that yet.
Thank you. So so that way it's both nautical and Hathaway personal. Non-wood, durable, and on the platform of the railing coming up. We had thought maybe it would be under the railing, but if visibility isn't good, Steve is inclined to say 2 posts and above the railing so that it's clearly visible from the street.
And less subject to vandalism. It's
and
a little higher.
less subject. I think people will want to swing from it, but that's,
Yeah.
that was just my childhood.
Yeah.
Feel free,
Andrea, you
Andrea.
wild child.
It was a long time
Andrea.
ago.
We will put a sign that says no swinging Andrea.
Right. No swinging for Andrea.
I used to do environmental permitting, and we always had this. I always had this standard. What would a 12-year-old do? I've done it.
That works for the town.
So it turns out Foth didn't have this in their budget. So I've been tagged with trying to get this quoted and send the quotes over to Steve, I guess, to get it over to Chris to get it paid for in time. That's it. Unless you guys have something else to add, that's it.
Okay. Any further discussion on that?
No, thank you guys for your hard work on this.
Okay. Next on the agenda is the 2023 season FY24 boat excise progress. Steve, do you know anything about that?
Yeah, far more than I want to admit. We had a meeting this past week with Gary Carrero, with the interim assessor, with a member of the select board who was swinging at me or at us at a prior select board meeting, and kind of hashed out what some of the issues were and got assurances that they will not repeat for the next billing due at the end of this month. But it has been nonstop. And contrary to what was announced at the select board meeting that I referred to, I have been helping people get cancellation of their boat titles processed by the environmental police, and then having them bring that cancellation confirmation to the assessor to abate boat bills on boats that were either sold out of state, therefore their Massachusetts title was not cleared, that were destroyed, in other words, junked, or given away or totaled by insurance companies. There's so many different reasons why the title remains active and the boat no longer exists. But I've been assured that we're clearing that up and it will be a once and done. So I've been working on that with more than a few of our boaters. So that's it. The next billing for last season, fiscal year 25, is due at the end of the month, according to the interim assessor. About it with that.
Okay, well, that's good news. I mean, it's been a tough process. I agree, Steve, for you and for many, but we're working towards getting this resolved and moving forward. This should go a lot easier. Okay, the next one's going to fall on you too, Steve. Also, the database. How would
At the same time, we're fighting all of this craziness with the excise tax from 2 years ago or 2 seasons ago. We're trying to make the new database work, and not having a lot of success, but we are gaining on it. Trying to bring the town personnel into this so that it works for them as well as us, because if it's not townwide, if it's not understood by the town, the payments don't get processed appropriately. And I'm not sure who I'm fighting most on this, whether it's the database people or technology itself, but again, making some progress on that and been entering in payments, making corrections. A lot of things did not transfer over properly from the old database, and a lot of things that we want the database to do, which seem like an easy on-off switch, I'm told is not that easy. So we're working on it continuously. And those
So-
two.
Yes, Roger.
Kevin, may I want to say, I got an email. I paid my bill online and I got a nice receipt. Did you get confirmation of that, Steve? From me?
Yes,
Okay.
Yes.
yes,
So it worked for me. And
it
was
did.
dead easy for me.
Let me just give you an example of real quick that we have fought. There are a lot of people in this town that live in Connecticut, California, elsewhere. That's their mailing address, but they own a house in Nonquit. They own a house in Dartmouth.
No.
They pay resident status. In our old database, we had a switch, resident, non-resident. It's binary. Despite what's going on in the world, you're either a resident or non-resident. We had that all clicked and ready to go. And when they converted it, they did not carry that over. If somebody had a second address in Dartmouth that made them a resident, it did not work that they became automatically residents. So after much work, that has been corrected, and we now need to re-input individually all local addresses as a secondary address in the new database to give that person resident status. It's doable. It's just time consuming.
TJ?
It didn't work for me. And I think we wound up mailing a check in. But I think afterwards we were playing with it just to see if we could get it to work, and we did, but we'd already mailed the check.
Okay, good.
Yeah, and we're getting a lot of that. And that's why
Can I
we've
make
done belt and suspenders this year. We mailed out paper invoices and we have the online. So
Just to
Okay.
increase that sample size, worked great for me.
Okay, great. All right. If anything else on that subject? If not, we'll move along to the Clean Water Group update. I guess that's going to be Andrea, please.
Oh, what said a repair? What said a report? The town just last week had a meeting with myself and Roger representing Waterways, a Conservation Commission representative, DPW with staff and board, and Board of Health staff, and with Gary and Heidi came because David Tattlebaum wasn't available. And we discussed both that the CWMP is a plan that will improve water quality ultimately, and the townwide watershed plan that Roger and I and Steve Michaud and Chris, and Steve Bliven was there but which addresses more surface water quality and addressing more sources of pollution that are outside of the DPW toolbox. And so the conversation was about coordinating these two efforts at a very primary level. And we tended to speak in most depth about the need for GIS mapping. You can't do a townwide plan. You can't do a plan that has any geographic reference without having good maps. And so that probably is going to lead into a discussion the town is already having about getting better mapping available in the town, not just for our group, but for just about almost every department. It seemed imaginable. That's what I heard at the meeting.
Yeah. Thank you.
We have basis to coordinate with DPW. Surface water sampling is going to move forward. The Chris Michaud has drafted a sampling plan, and it has been submitted to the Department of Environmental Protection for review and approval, and SMAST is on board, assuming there's no problem with paying them. We have the money to pay them to do the sampling analysis. It'll begin as soon as DEP gives us the approval, and certainly in June. Steve, there's a couple sites. There's two sites that are offshore, and so I think Chris Michaud's going to speak to you. But he knows that the sampling is going to be during the heavy boating seasons when the harbor master might be called out to do something important like save somebody. And so I think there's a question as to whose boats, whether or not he's going to ask you to actually get a person out there to sample or not. I don't know.
We can
Roger, did you
multitask.
have any? I'm sorry?
We could multitask, pull a body and pull a water sample at the same time.
Let's hope it's not that.
Honestly,
No.
it's kind of
DJ.
early in the morning, so I wasn't volunteering.
Yeah.
DJ,
Roger, do you have anything to add?
No, that was good. There was cooperation and collaboration. I think we're headed in the right direction. And certainly select board was there, Gary was there, taking notes and understanding where we all want to go. So it's all good.
Okay. All right. If there's nothing else, we'll open up for public comment. Hearing none, I'd like to schedule our next meeting. And it looks like the Tuesday is going to be May the 6th. We are apparently allowed to continue on Zoom. So May the 13th is the second Tuesday as I look at the calendar. So May 13th will be the second Tuesday in May, and noontime will be the time. And that's where we are. And I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
If you can find it under billing.
That will be the last meeting before our dedication, correct?
Correct.
That's correct.
Okay.
Okay. May 13th.
Right. Motion to.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Good.
Make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
Papa?
All those in
There you
favor?
go.
Right.
Aye.
Group I, okay. Thank you, everybody, for your time.
Thank you.
And
Bye.
we will see you later.
Thanks, everybody.